Hello, my name is Rick Green, and I'm the editor of the Meadville Tribune, and with me is reporter Mike Crowley. We'd like to thank you for joining us for our Meet the Candidate session. Today, we are here with Andrew Herbstritt, who is running for one of the seats on Meadville City Council. We'll turn it over to Mr. Herbstritt for an introduction or opening statement.
Great. Rick, thank you very much for having me. It's wonderful to sit down and have the opportunity to share my ideas. I moved to Meadville in 2008 when I took a job at the Meadville Middle School. I quickly fell in love with the city, mostly through the school district and coaching and teaching. The families were great, and I purchased my home in 2010, and I've been a homeowner in the city since. I guess when I'm looking at why I'm running, I see two reasons, service and opportunity. Just living in the community for so long and going to different events around town, I really am impressed at a core group of people that are driving community efforts. And I feel as myself and others, we all could do a little bit more to serve the community, to chip in and take the burden off of those people. And I'm seeing this as an opportunity for me to contribute to moving our city forward and making it a better place to live. I also, speaking of opportunity is another reason why I'm running. And I see things that we could continue to do better to make Meadville even a better place to live. I think there are certain aspects that we have to be mindful of. We always have to be very mindful of budget management at the city level. We have to focus on partnerships with a smaller staff and a limited budget. That's going to be important. It's really going to take a community effort to continue to see progress in the city. And I think when we do, with the little revenue we do have, we have to be very smart about how we invest it. So we get, every dollar counts. We want our bang for our buck. So why am I running? I guess it comes down to serving the community, an opportunity to chip in, to help everyone. And also I see opportunities to continue to push our city forward.
Okay.
All right. Looking back over the last 4 years, how would you evaluate City Council's performance?
One of the reasons why I am running is because I have been inspired by what City Council has been able to achieve. There are things that are directly important to me. Responsible budget management, parks, and wise investments in public safety. I think, and downtown revitalization as well. I'm seeing changes downtown, which is great. And I've been very pleased by the effort, especially the Democratic members of City Council, specifically Jamie Kinder, who I'm proud to collaborate with. And I've seen that progress. I'm inspired by that progress, and I want to continue to move our city in that direction.
What should City Council's top priorities be for the next 4 years?
Well, I see one of them City Council has more direct control over, and that is budget management. We have to continue to spend wisely. We got a $14 million budget. $3 million of that is going towards debt per year, and so there's not a lot of funding. So we got to always be mindful of what we're spending money on, doing whatever we can to invest in creative ways, get grants, do whatever we can to maintain our current city services, and also figure out ways to be innovative. For example, the ambulance service, right? There wasn't anything we really took on extra there. We just took what we already had. The fire department was able to do a fantastic job, and we were able to give them another duty and that they're able to fulfill. So I really find that to be a great example of smart investment. So we have to be mindful of the budget, because we don't want to have to raise taxes every year. Then you're affecting the cost of living. I live in the Hellwood neighborhood. There's a lot of senior citizens up there. When I've canvassed in my neighborhood, a lot of them are talking about property taxes. And I know that's been a roadblock for many people living in Meadville. So we gotta keep doing that. Mayor Kinder has done a great job with that. 2 straight budgets, no tax increase, likely a third one. I appreciate that effort. I think the second one is economic development. Now, this is one that's going to require strong partnerships with the residents and businesses and organizations. One organization that's kind of have become a bigger player over the last year is the MCRC, the Meadville Community Revitalization Corporation, trying to put together a cohesive strategy for downtown involving the business owners and residents, and you're seeing them behind some of these efforts, and I think that's just in the beginning, and we got to continually have conversations with them and be flexible with zoning and ordinances that will give people opportunities. Obviously we can't invest there's not a lot of extra money to invest city dollars in there, but we're gonna have to lean on each other, especially those organizations with the talent and knowledge that really kind of know what they're doing, and we just gotta kind of maneuver and get out of the way when we need to, and make sure stuff is consistent though, right? That nobody's taking advantage of. That's important. And the third thing I see is community well-being. Another thing that, once again, City Council can't address solely. It's going to take the community effort, county efforts, statewide efforts. But when you look at things like housing, which is being brought up a lot, and I'm not talking like low-income housing. I'm talking like middle income. In my neighborhood, I just had a new neighbor moved in. They've been looking for a house in Meadville for 2 years. He's been driving there from Fairview for 2 years. He works at a business town. They finally got a house in my neighborhood, but those aren't available. And so there are ways through creating the land bank with the county government that maybe we're able to get hold of some of these houses that are being neglected, get them in the hands of the land bank, turn it over to organizations like Common Roots and whatnot, and try to get them to become owner-occupied houses. That is not a quick and easy thing, but it's a small step. It's a tool. The land bank is not the only tool. It's not a silver bullet, but it is a tool that city government. It's going to take effort, though. It's going to take us to sit down with the county government. We got to have conversations. We got to sort out things. I know I spoke with a county official. They thought it was 5 years out. We got to be faster than that. And I'm willing to sit down and have those conversations. When it comes to things like drug and alcohol and mental health, another thing that's a very deep problem, very complex problem that I think City Council obviously doesn't have the resources to deal with, but we have a wonderful, great organizations around. Small steps that have been taken, like the Crisis Intervention Officer, is a way we can contribute. But once again, keeping that dialogue with those local organizations is important. I'm running with Mary Moody. She has 17 years of counseling experience. Her and I have had multiple conversations about that. She really gets that specific topic, and I'm happy to have her as a partner in this run for City Council. So I think it always starts the budget, something City Council has control over. There's always going to be a stress on the budget with 45% of the city property tax exempt. We know that. So we have to be very mindful that we're spending tax dollars wisely, and when we do spend that money, we have to make sure we're getting a lot of bang for our buck. And like I said, economic development, strong partnerships, and finally community well-being, strong partnerships.
Okay.
Right. As far as the idea of attracting and retaining businesses here in Meadville, any ideas on specific strategies that can help with that, and how the city can do whatever it can to also support small local entrepreneurs at the same time?
Yeah, I think I think relying on those ABCs, especially in the past 6-7 months, there's been talk about tweaking this zoning here and dealing with this ordinance here. I think we got to listen to those ABCs. We got a lot of talented people on those, and when they come to you, got to take it serious. If they see an issue where this zoning needs to occur, we need to make sure that we're making it flexible but consistent. They were doing the last one, the doggy daycare. That was something that couldn't happen downtown because of the certain zoning and whatnot. So those are things that we have to be mindful of. We don't want to get in the way, but when we do the zoning and everything and change ordinance, we got to be consistent, because you also want the right businesses to come in. I know that a lot of people spoke about the different tobacco shops, and that they're not interested in seeing more of those come in there. And I know that they tweak the ordinances and zoning so they're only allowed in certain spots. And we want to create that downtown that attracts businesses. We don't want other businesses, making people stay away when they're trying to start their own businesses downtown. So we got to just be mindful of that. Be flexible, be consistent, speak with those downtown business owners. And like the MCRC, like I mentioned before, they're doing a great job. They're that bridge as well that have the resources and the staff to do that. We got to know when we have that talent pool and that know-how, we got to tap into that. And we got to take the advice of that and let them do their great things, because we honestly don't have the city staff, the number. We have great staff, especially in planning and everything, and we got to take on all their recommendations to heart. But flexibility and consistency kind of have to be there as well.
When it comes to downtown, there are residents and some business owners that aren't happy with the parking situation. Mm-hmm. They either want more parking, cheaper parking, both. What are your views of downtown parking? Do we need more spaces? Things priced right?
Yeah, I know parking is, speaking to current members on the city council, speaking to people around the community, that comes up all the time. And, it's weird. It's a matter of perspective. Some people say there's no parking issue. Others, they said there's a huge part. It also depends business by business and area by area. So I think, I know the free parking, I would say we probably can't do free parking. We can't afford it. Parking costs money. It costs a lot of money. And if we were actually to pay for parking with parking fees, the parking fees would be much higher. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to make people go away, and we still get free parking after 5 and on the weekends, which is great. I think that's a great middle ground there. I also know that I parked up on South Main Street and walked here in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. A lot of people want parking right in front of the business. And I understand that, right? But people don't realize that sometimes if they park at the Walmart parking lot and they walk all the way across the Walmart parking lot into Walmart and back to the electronics section, they probably walked further than they would if they just parked around the block away from a specific, business they want to, go to. So I think there is some legitimate gripes to that in certain parts of town, maybe. But I think for the most part, taking on more parking responsibilities has proven to not be successful. Look at the parking garage, right? We don't have the funding to maintain massive structures and more parking spaces. We're already losing money on that as we speak. And so I think what attracts people downtown are great businesses, a great atmosphere. People will find parking, whether they have to park on the Diamond and walk a block down. That's what's going to bring people downtown, and that should be the main focus. And if there is a certain spot where we can open up spots, without taking away more property for, a business to start or whatnot, I'm open to that. But I really think if we just continue to make downtown a place where people want to come, I think the parking issue is not as big as we think it is.
Okay.
Moving from parking to housing, there's a number of challenges with affordable and quality housing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Touched on that already. What steps should the city be taking to address?
Once again, housing is a deep issue, a complex issue, an issue that the city does not have the resources to take on itself, no doubt, and actually very minimal resources to do it. Other than, I know with the rental inspection program, for example, establish a basic safety kind of standard for rental properties is when you're talking about safer housing. I know that was a polarizing program. I spoke to people that have been for and against it for multiple reasons, but I think it was done. Can it be made better and improved, whatever, more efficient? Have those conversations, look at that. But when you're looking at our team has set a goal to increase home ownership in the city. I think there's a desire there. There are renters that I have knocked on doors that want to own a home. They want to live in Meadville, but the housing stock is not there. And the county did a housing study back in 2019, and that was one of the main issues, right? The right housing stock wasn't there. So we got to figure out ways to increase that. We set a goal to add more home ownership over the next 4 years. I'm going to go back to that land bank. What's more, it doesn't mean newly built houses. There's not a lot of land to do that on in Meadville, and not a lot of unoccupied land. So it's taking the houses that we have that maybe are neglected, that maybe are off the rolls right now, that aren't inhabited, figuring out a way to work with the county who has the resources. They have more staff than the city does, in order to get those houses purchased, put in the land bank, and redeveloped by local organizations that can make it open to owner-occupied or investors, whatever it may be, to get more people to be able to own their home. It's only 30% of the city, and there is a desire. I do recognize that it is a very slow process, and it will be incremental, house by house by house, but we have to give local organizations that have the resources and the knowledge the tools. And one tool that I know is achievable in the next 4 years is that land bank.
Part of being on city council, you have the city's relationship with the county, with nonprofits, with Allegheny College. What can you do as a council member to strengthen those type of partnerships and address some of the shared challenges that everyone has?
Conversations. I mean, that make prioritizing that. When I announced my run back in February, I before I announced my run, I'm like, all right, what am I running for? Right, service opportunities, but what am I seeing as how do we achieve progress? And with, as I already stated, the limited budget and everything, we're going to lean on the talented people and organizations. So step number one is just meeting with those people. I as a city councilman, those people need to be approached. They need to be discussed. We got to set up meetings. We got to set up groups that we can get together because the strong partnerships are critical. I want to build a stronger relationship. One of the priorities is working with the county commissioners and the county government. Because like I said, a lot of the progress in our city is going to rely on them, and we're going to need them. And Meadville's an important part of the county. The county seat, we're the largest, city. I mean, we're the economic hub, we're the cultural hub, we're the education hub, healthcare hub of the whole county. I mean, both of us need that strong relationship. So I do feel that is important. So setting up that dialogue, initiating those conversations. I have knocked on over 1,100 doors in this city since June. I've been canvassing 3 to 4 days a week. And I'm going to go after this for another 2.5 hours with my running mate, Mary Moody. I know the value of those conversations. I learn a lot. I learned that different neighborhoods have different priorities. I call them neighborhood nuances. Like I asked somebody about the parking garage in that neighborhood. It doesn't concern them. I talk to if somebody rents downtown, it's the biggest thing on their mind. So I value the conversations. People, different organizations, county government, they might have different perspectives. And that is all important because in order to make the best decision, you got to account for all those perspectives. And so establishing dialogue, setting up meetings, sitting down, creating work sessions with those. And those, like I said, my priority is the budget. That's going to take a lot of, city government and our great staff. We're going to do that. But when it comes to the economic and the community well-being, it's going to be really community driven, and we just got to figure out a way where we can contribute as a city, or maybe even get out of the way and adjust something so that things can happen. Let those organizations that have funding and all that to take over. Well, not take over, but do what they do.
Okay.
Well, with that relationship with Crawford County in mind, what's your position on the city's lawsuit that's going on right now against the county to try to force property tax reassessment?
I talked to a gentleman for 35 minutes on their door about that, and he's like, "Well, what's your position on that?" I have talked to county officials on that, city officials on that. I've gotten the same answer. A third of the property taxes will go up, a third will go down, a third will stay the same. What's relatively consistent among all of them is the fact that it seems as though the city of Meadville is we're definitely losing out on the 1969 property reassessment, and I know the 1980s they did the change and everything, but I wish this could have been done without a lawsuit. And I know the county government is in a difficult position because they will likely have to raise taxes. I think that based on the lawsuit, and I believe all 5 members of city council right now are a part of that, like even Republican Jim and the Democrats. So this is something that they all agreed on, I think, because of the city budget constantly. I would love to see what other recent reassessments have done, but at this moment in time, it's moving forward. I don't know if this is going to hurt our relationship with the county. I wish it could have been done together, and maybe it was unrealistic, and maybe, because the county will likely have to have property taxes raised countywide to pay for the millions of dollars that it will cost. I know this sounds like an odd, it's happening, and it's already in the works. So I'm going to have to deal with the repercussions of it. And I know if it goes through and they do the reassessment, and there might be people in the city that might have to be angry about it, and we're going to have to address those issues as they come. So I think a reassessment had to be done. It's unfortunate it came to a lawsuit. I don't think it'll be a magical thing that will solve all the city's revenue problems, because you're not allowed to do reassessments to raise revenue. So maybe with the school taxes, will shift the burden more to maybe like Vernon Township, whatnot, but it's really just speculation at this moment in time. And I'm kind of at a wait and see, because it's following through, and if I'm fortunate to be elected, we'll have to see what the consequences are.
What's your approach to ensure that Meadville remains a safe and welcoming community while also fostering trust between the residents and the law enforcement?
Yeah, I think public safety is a fundamental responsibility of city government, and I know sometimes it also can be a very polarizing thing in the city. Mayor Kinder returning pensions to police and fire. I know definitely the police that helped stabilize the staffing. There was turnover, they were leaving. So I do believe in paying, our officers and our firefighters who, protect and serve, a competitive wage, so we don't lose them and have to continually turn over them, because that's never good. Having that revolving door does weaken public safety. And if you're seeing them actually, like the fire department was a driving force behind adding the ambulance. So there's innovation there. And there's efforts there that I think are, really applauded on both ends. I know with the incidents over the summer on Baldwin Street, public, confidence can be shaken from time to time. And one of the most impactful things I attended was at the FCCA. They had the pizza with the police. And there was a lot of frustration pent up around that. A certain, portion of the community is upset. They lost trust. They don't believe people are being held accountable. And I watched the chief and a gentleman from the Pennsylvania State Police, I can't remember his name right now, but I saw them take on very difficult questions and have that dialogue with the community. I know talking with some of the residents that were there that were really, frustrated. I don't know if their answers were always, they were happy with the answers, but they got answers and they got explanations, and that dialogue is important. I think that should become a yearly type thing. We should have those types of meet and greets, because it was beneficial to lower the heat a little bit in the community over the issue, and kind of let the police department explain their position and why certain things happened or didn't happen. But it is important to value accountability too when a mistake is being made. So I don't want to say, well, we have to throw support no matter what, right? But it was really interesting to hear the chief talk about how accountability is upheld, and it was a learning experience for me. So accountability is important, but at the same time, we got to still make those investments in it, because if we want to have quality people in those positions, driving those ambulances, we got to have a competitive wage to keep them here.
Okay. Yeah, I think that covers Our questions for this session, we'll let you finish with a closing statement, or you can talk about any issue that maybe we didn't bring up that you wanted to make sure the voters heard.
No, I think, this has been a wonderful process since the primary for me and for Mary Moody and Jamie Kinder, who I'm running with. We made it a point to get out and knock on doors, have real conversations with people around the city. Our platform is easily viewed online, website. We can go to our website, you can check it out. I even have my own personal website, voteformeadville.com and hertfordcitycouncil.com. You can see what our priorities are. You can see our platform. You might not agree with it all, whatnot, then at least you're educated on where we stand. I know when I decided to run, what has been accomplished over the last 4+ years in making Meadville better, I want to continue to be a part of that. Making those smart investments in public safety, and partnering with local organizations and residents and working on things like community well-being and economic development. It will be a community. You watch what is happening at the state and federal levels right now, right? Inaction and the shutdowns, and you can't pass the budget. That is not happening in Meadville. Results are important. And I've been appreciative of what Democratic members on City Council have been able to deliver. And I know some of those results aren't always loved by all, but that's a part of governing. And you try to make the best decision, even stuff that you really didn't originally run on. Mayor Kinder didn't run on an ambulance service, but the opportunity came. You do what you thought was the best for the community, get people faster rides to the hospital, and you make the decision. And not everybody agrees with it, I understand. But you have to actually try to move the needle. And the needle moves, incrementally sometimes, but you got to be patient. You got to take the risk. You got to even stick your neck out sometimes, knowing that you're going to take some heat. And sometimes you have to go back even and maybe reevaluate and fix and tweak things. And that's important too. You don't have to, that certain initiative or certain program or whatever, if it can be made better, we got to make it better. When it regards to new things, programs, initiatives, we got it. Once again, I'm going back to that budget. We got to be mindful of not increasing the cost of living in this city, and understand we have a large senior citizen population here that in my neighborhood, I think especially, that's on their mind often. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve the city, focus on that budget, focus on economic development, and focus on community well-being. And thank you once again for having me here to share my ideas.
Thank you for joining us. We'd like to remind our viewers to vote on November 4th. And you can watch all our interviews on our website, meadvilletribune.com, and on our YouTube channel at Meadville Tribune Media. Thank you.